Hello lovelies, I'm terrible at pimping my stuff, so here I am, pimping my stuff. Please like, subscribe, and most important of all, share, so that people can discover me and all the wonders that I offer. It had to happen eventually, but they found an actual bigot in gaming, in tabletop gaming. I guess fascists and bigots in gaming are kind of like buses. You wait forever, and forever, and forever, and then two come along at once. I guess that's how it works, because we've had issues with Varg, and now we've got issues with Bob Bledslaw II of the Judges Guild. And it's a real shame, because the Judges Guild is a really important part of tabletop gaming history. They have a very long history, going back almost as long as TSR. It was the Judges Guild that first proved the viability of supplementary materials, who created the first Games Master screen, and it was they and a couple of other companies that proved the capacity of third-party companies to produce material for games without necessarily having to have the full copyrights and so on. So all those retro clones and slightly off-label supplementary material you might have before even the OGL was a twinkle in anyone's eye, yeah, all of that can really be traced back to the Judges Guild. They kind of petered out in the mid-80s. They didn't manage to adapt and up their print quality and so on in the way that the rest of the industry had, and they were very old school even then, and weren't part of the kind of movement towards more immersive and realistic roleplay. It's very much still in the pattern of the kind of individually encapsulated adventures for the most part. Perhaps what they're most famous for is the city-state of the Invincible Overlord, which has been made and remade in various versions by various parties at various times, and they ran a successful but then unsuccessful in delivering Kickstarter for it, and the money's seemingly disappeared and it's 5 years overdue. But yeah, there you go. So what did Bob Bledslaw II actually say and actually do that's so terrible? Well, it seems that he said some rather unpleasant things, mostly on Facebook, because, of course, social media will be the downfall of us all. The first one is an image of Donald Trump, a story from the Washington Times. Trump's re-election campaign kicks off in the name of Jesus Christ. And Bob's comment is, could be why the Jews media hates him so much. Next we have a rather racist GIF from American Psycho, I believe, of Jason Bateman looking at a card and then looking disappointed, and it's labelled Santa receiving word that the North won the Civil War, so he has to switch to elves. Then we have some political commentary from Bob. Uninformed idiots out there claiming a vote for Bernie will make him our first Jewish president. Wrong. Harry Truman was a Jew and created the State of Israel by proclamation, while Eisenhower was a Swedish Jew whose white American casualty rate was itself a war crime. Secretive little guys, aren't they all? Sorry to disturb your dream state, kids. Now, Bob has been challenged on these opinions in private by various people who have then reported back, and he stands by them, says he meant every word, yeah, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. As a consequence, various companies have now refused to work with them, their website appears to be down, and they have been expunged from DriveThru-RPG. So this takes us back to the usual question: can you separate art from the artist? Should you boycott people like this? Where does free speech and privacy begin and end? Should you be held responsible at work for something that you do in your own time? And it's all terribly complicated, so let me take you through it on my part. I'm aware that this will seem simple to a lot of people. We have a big problem in that a lot of people who aren't bigots are being constantly and consistently accused of being bigots, and they are suffering backlash, damage to their business, getting banned, people refusing to work with them, all kinds of issues over essentially nothing. And this is a rare case, like Vargvikernes, where there actually is something, where there's something of substance that we can point at and we can look at. But this is weirdly being taken on sites like the Big Purple as some kind of validation of all the other spurious accusations that have been made, rather than as an example of an unambiguous case in which we do have someone who was genuinely a bigot. Now, I don't know if his father was a bigot, I don't know if anyone else involved in the company is a bigot, or whether it's just him. You know, there are other reasons to be concerned about the Judges Guild with their late Kickstarter and all the rest of it. But of course everyone involved with them is effectively being punished. And they're being punished because of what this guy has said and done in his own time as a private individual, not as a representative of the company, not in his identity as the runner of the company, not through a company account, anything like that. If he was employed by somebody else, rather than being self-employed and running this company, I don't think it would be very hard at all to say he shouldn't be fired. This is his own issue on his own private time, and it's disgusting what he said, but that he's entitled to his own opinion and he's entitled to express it on his own time. So long as he treats all the customers the same, that shouldn't be an issue. Are there Judges Guild products that espouse his racist ideas and his conspiratorial ideas? I don't know. I've never been a big D&D guy, certainly not back in the day. So I couldn't tell you. Probably not, but then we live in a time and a place where people say the mere existence of orcs as an antagonistic race in RPGs is racist, even though they're a species rather than a race, really. So it's tricky. Are the products any good? Should drive-thru be allowed to expunge them when they're a de facto monopoly on PDF sales? It's all very difficult. My litmus test is usually to look at Orson Scott Card. Now, I believe the boycotting of people of Orson Scott Card was justified, because buying his books, buying his material, watching films derived from his books was feeding money into his wallet, which he was then spending to promote anti-homosexual propaganda and to try and repeal gay marriage in California. So you wouldn't want to fund him doing that. There's no direct evidence of Bob Bledslaw II being involved in any such political agitation, using the money he makes from his business to victimize people. But I think it's probably a safe bet that he's going to make a donation to the Trump campaign. But then that is mainstream politics today. Yeah, you've got to consider that. And you've got to consider the effect that this will have on people who worked for and with him. You know, drying up money to them. He's not the only person being hurt, the only person involved. I'm really not keen on boycotts, at least certainly not organised ones. Individuals can make decisions as they see fit, I think, about who and what they want to work with, but applying social pressure to other people who might not make the same decision, that's not so okay at all. On balance, I think, not that I would buy anything of theirs anyway, but I don't think I would work with him in this context. I don't think I would collaborate on any projects in this context. I don't think I would buy any Judges Guild products, except some of the really old ones, perhaps, for nostalgia and historical reasons, on the basis of this. But I think everyone has to make that individual decision themselves on their own basis. And I don't think it is the place of drive-thru, given their position as a de facto monopoly. I don't think it's their place to expunge a whole swathe of gaming history and products and someone's living from their site on the basis of something that they do that's completely legal in their own time and not in any official capacity. And it just tightens the screws that little bit more. I hope that in future we will keep our powder dry to only attack people as bigots when it's been proven to this kind of degree but I don't expect that that's going to be the case. And what I've expressed before, and what I hate about this the most, is that these kind of accusations of bigotry, of being Nazis and so on, have been levelled at so many people who are completely innocent. Have been levelled at me, who is a left-wing anarchist, for God's sake, that I cannot trust these accusations when they come up. I always have to check and investigate, and I can't trust them. And the people making the accusations, even when they're right, are such unspeakable cunts that it's really difficult to go along with them, even when they're right. Zang.
Sure, you could play one of those hoity-toity horror games where the most horrifying thing that happens is someone wearing a corset who really shouldn't. Or you could grind a zombie's face into a belt sander.